each of you feel that in your own ways that you can be some slight difference maker for each of your teams this week with the things you do and how you do it?
Yeah, I hope so. I hope that, my main goal is to put these players in their best position to play well. And, when you do that, the guys can go out and perform at their highest level. So, but ultimately the players are going to decide the Ryder Cup. But I definitely think the captain and the vice captains, their main goal here, their main job is to put the players in the best position to play at their best. And every day that we go out, whether it's Friday of the tournament or a practice round like today, we want to make sure the guys are in the right state of mind, with the right mindset of what we want to do during the week, and get them prepared to be ready to go on Friday morning.
Yeah, I mean, again, reiterate what I said. I think just like in other sports, coaches, they have an impact on the game, right? They should. The way they put their players out, the pairings, whatever it might be. There's so much preparation that goes into this that you hope, as a captain, you have some kind of influence on the end results.
Go next right here to Mike 3, followed by Mike 20.
Oh, hi, thank you. Keegan, could I ask a question about your path in golf in general? I'm from the Boston Globe, so I kind of wanted to ask you to reflect on, when you think about what shaped you that time in Massachusetts, how that was different maybe from the paths you saw other guys take to the pros, and kind of just how maybe that shaped you a bit.
Yeah, I mean, not a lot of players from New England on the PGA Tour, but I think the people of New England and the Northeast have a grit mindset to them. And I had such a finite time to practice golf. When I grew up in Vermont, we had like really severe winters, and then Boston was actually going south. I could hit some shots later in the year, but I had this very specific. I had to capitalize on this time to hit balls, get ready to play, prepare to someday do this. So, as I got older and I was able to play year round, I still have that mentality. I still have that mentality today of I can't waste a second of this day. And I think when you grow up in New England and whether you're trying to be a golfer or work, you want to get your job done. You want to be the best you can at your job. And I carry around the Northeast in New England with me everywhere I go. That's my identity. And I love that I grew up there. I love that, I'm a little bit different than the guys out here, and there's nothing I'm more proud of than representing that part of the world.
Yeah, good afternoon. Question for Keegan, please, about the U.S. team getting paid for the first time this year. Just over here. Can you just explain to us why you've decided to give all your money to charity? And just to clarify, are all your team going to follow your example? Have you got a unified approach to this?
Well, the PGA of America came to me. They wanted to bring the Ryder Cup into the present day. The charity dollars hadn't changed since 1999, and they asked me to sort of shepherd their way into making it into 2025. I think for everyone it's a personal decision. A lot of guys aren't comfortable sharing what they're going to do with their money, but we're going to donate. And for us, the PGA of America, this happens after the Ryder Cup, so this is something that we'll worry about after. But ultimately, the PGA of America asked me to help out with this, and this is the best way we came up to do it.
Just to clarify, why are you giving your money, all of your money? Why are you giving your stipend as well as the charity donation?
I think that's a personal decision. I don't donate to charities to publicize what we're doing. These guys on our team are incredible people, and they do a lot of incredible things with charity dollars and with their foundations, and a lot of them aren't comfortable sharing that sort of information, and I feel the same way.
Go next to Mike 9, followed by 11 and 14.
This is for both of you guys. You talked the uniqueness of you guys living so close to each other, and you talk about being friends. So how much do you see each other, whether it's at 1,000 North or a Bears Club, and how does that play into this? It's a very unique situation.
Yeah, as I said, I've known Keegan, 12, 13 years now. We're someone's that we would play practice rounds together on the road. We would have dinners together. We had mutual friends. Again, Keegan is someone that I've rooted for. If he did well in a tournament, won a tournament, I would text him. And likewise back. I think we definitely have a good, strong friendship. And I think there's a mutual respect there. We understand both been in the arena. We understand exactly the difficulties of professional golf, and we celebrate our victories together, I think. And, it's nice to have a captain, your captain opposite you, someone that you know and respect a lot. And, I think we're also very, very competitive. And, that's not going to change this week. I think we'll have a drink on Sunday night, no matter what the result. But, this week is about trying to get our teams to win, and we want to win. And I think we, are very similar in that personality. I think the captaincy for me, just like it has been for Keegan has been quite enlightening and helpful. I think we're both somewhat introverts in a way, and it's kind of taught us to go more out of our comfort zones. And so, I see a lot of similarities between us, but there's definitely a deep respect amongst us.
Yeah, for me, there's not many people I like more in the golf world than Luke Donald. I came out on tour in 2011, and he was #1 in the world. And he was the first real, quote-unquote, top player to treat me with the respect that I couldn't believe. I get to go out and play with Luke Donald, who's the best player in the world. He played with all of my buddies that I went to St. John's with. I loved hanging out and having a drink with Luke Donald. But like he said, we want to go out there and win. We want to go out there and put our teams in the best position to do well. But, ultimately, like we've chatted, I wanted to be the first one to tell Luke that I was the Ryder Cup captain here out of respect to him, because we talk a lot about the Ryder Cup, throughout our lives. And, I really feel lucky to have Luke on the opposite side, because we send each other texts, we joke around, but we know once the competition comes, we want to win. And like Luke said, come Sunday night, I can't wait to have a drink with Luke Donald and sit down and try to enjoy this even more.
Mike 11.
Keegan, just following on from Neil's question there about the payment for your team, what do you say to those who take that as evidence that it means more to Europe?
Well, I'm not concerned about what Europe does or what they think. I'm concerned about what my team's doing. And I was tasked with the job the PGA of America asked me to do, and this was what we decided. And we wanted to bring the Ryder Cup into today's age, and we felt like this was the best way to do it. We copied a lot about what the President's Cup does, and we did the best we could. And I think a lot of good is going to come from this. I think the players are going to do a lot of good with this money, and I think it's great.
I mean, obviously, you rightly recognise that the players are able to do a lot of good with it, but I think the optics of it are questionable, given the finances already involved in golf. Do you have any regret about that aspect at all?
I don't really get that, but I think the goal here was the charity dollars hadn't been raised in 26 years, and that's what we started out doing. And we did a lot of what the President's Cup did, and these players are going to do the right thing and do a lot of really good with this money. I mean, you can say that, but I think that the players are really good people and are going to do a lot of good things.
Bob and then Doug, please.
Keegan, back here. Obviously, it's been a while now since you came to terms with the decision you made to not play. Just wondering if, as you got here over the weekend or even today in practice, if there's just any tinge of wonder what it might have been like if you were, and what those emotions were like.
Definitely. I've thought about it every second. But I've also thought about how impossible it would be. Like I said earlier, I was picked to do this job as captain. And there's been certain things that I've done during the week or lead up that if I was playing, I don't think I could have done at the level that I needed to do them at. And, I catch myself every now and then looking down the fairway, seeing the guys walk down the fairway and think how badly I'd want to do that. And how badly I'd want to be in that group with Scotty Scheffler and seeing him play and being his teammate. But I feel like I've been called for a bigger cause here to help our guys get ready to play and play at the highest level. But in the back of my mind, I'm always thinking that I could have been out there, but ultimately, I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed being the captain. and, you know, how I've enjoyed not having to worry about getting to sleep and getting my rest, or how I haven't had to think about what time I'm going to go practice or meet my coach and then meet the guys. So it's simplified things a lot for me.
Doug?
One for each, if I could. Luke, do you feel this is a better team than you had at Marco Simone?
It's a very similar team, which is unusual. Never happened in the history of our Ryder Cup teams in Europe to have 11 come back. So we have a lot of cohesion, you know, and I think part of a captain's job is to try and form the team, is to try and get these guys together and kind of bonding and being a team. And I certainly haven't had to work that hard with these guys because of what we did 2 years ago. Even Rasmus, you know, was on the buggy for Nikolai and spent time there. So I think statistically, there are some guys who are a lot better players than they were in Rome. I'm sure the U.S. are very strong too. I mean, you just look at the talent the U.S. have. They have the best player in the world. He's doing incredible things. They have a bunch of superstars as well. But we understand that it's going to be a big challenge. But I'm very excited about my team, where we are, the form we have coming into this. And I'm excited about getting going on Friday.
I was looking for a yes or no, but that works. and Keegan, for you, what was the purpose of the gathering kind of you had on the first tee this morning?
Well, you know, I think it's anytime that guys can be together, and I think it's really powerful to be on that first tee without the crowds and just be you guys. You know, every second that the guys are together can have a powerful moment. I think it brings them closer together. And, you know, that was a really fun time to be out there with those guys and share that moment and hear the national anthem. I really think that, you know, I had this vision of doing that for about a year. And to be out there and see it and see how emotional the guys got, it was really a special time for our team.
In front with Ann.
2 years ago, we had Novak Djokovic came to our team. You know, again, I'm not going to share who we have or who we might not have coming to the team. But again, my job is to, one, obviously get the guys ready, but create an experience for them that they'll never forget. You know, we want to create a week where they have the most fun on and off the golf course. So we worked very hard, myself, my wife, on creating a week where, you know, they're going to remember this no matter what. These are great experiences to be a part of the Ryder Cup. Sometimes, you know, if you might only get one chance at this. Sometimes you might have 8 or 9 chances, but everyone is very special for them. And we try and do a lot of things during the week that has a lot of meaning, has a lot of value. And we love to, you know, again, make this one of the best weeks of their lives.
We'll go up top here for a couple. Martin, then James.
Luke, your players are wearing salmon pink today, which I believe represents a win on US soil in '87, and that's going to be a theme over the next few days. Can you talk about the importance of that message to your players?
Yeah, I think it's always important to rally around something. You know, we always have things that we come up with that are important to us. And history and our unity and celebrating what we've done in the past and the legends that have kind of come before us is really important. So, yeah, I wanted to focus on that, yes, this is going to be a difficult challenge. We haven't come close to winning 3 out of the last 4 away Ryder Cups. It's not been very close at all. That's my job to bridge that gap. But we have won quite a few times. We've won 4 times away since 1987. And you know, come close a few other times as well. But no, I think that's motivating to the guys that it can be done, it has been done, and you know, again, we're here to try and do it again.
Keegan, up here. when you brought the guys out to the first tee, I'm just wondering whose reaction were you most surprised by?
Well, I wasn't really surprised. It was a powerful moment. You know, you looking around and seeing all the guys that, you know, staring at what we were doing and so into it in such an emotional way. A lot of people have worked really hard to get to that point, to this point in their lives. You know, like Luke said, you never know when your last Ryder Cup is. You never know if you're going to play 1 or 10 or whatever. And, you know, for a lot of guys, whether it was the players, the caddies, the coaches, to be on that first tee in New York City at Bethpage Black at a Ryder Cup is a very powerful moment. And, you know, sometimes in your life and in your career, you have to take stock in what's happening around you. I think one of my biggest regrets early in my career wasn't enjoying things more. And, you know, for that moment out this morning, guys were really taking that in and enjoying it, and that was a beautiful thing.
Microphone 13, please.
Hey, Luke, over here. What is the single greatest piece of advice that you could give Keegan going into this, having done this before?
That's a tough one to give advice to someone you're trying to beat this week. It really is. But I think he nailed it on the head. You know, you have to enjoy these moments. That being a captain is not easy. There's a lot of build-up. There's a lot that goes into it. It's more than just turning up this week and having your players and coming up with some pairings. There's a lot of intricacies to this. And you can get engulfed and a little bit swallowed up sometimes in the little details. And I think, you know, all I would say is, you know, both of us, we need to embrace it, enjoy it, because these are opportunities you don't get very often. I was extremely fortunate to get this 2 years ago, and to have a chance to do it twice is incredible. And it's certainly something I do not ever take for granted. So I would just say, enjoy this week, Keegan.
Great. It looks like that's it for questions. So, captains, thank you for your time today. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, Luke Donald, sharp, well-spoken, thoughtful, trying to do what Tony Jacklin last did almost 40 years ago, win a Ryder Cup in Europe and then follow it up with one here in the United States, Jacklin 85 and then 87, famously at Muirfield Village. You look at the all-time results, U.S. leading, but Europe's won 10 of the last 14. It is 12-9-1 favor of Europe since they expanded to the whole continent of Europe from just Great Britain and Ireland in 1979. It was a wildly lopsided before then. From 1927 to 1977, it was 19-3 favor of the USA. Brandon will have more on why it's tilted this way a bit later in the show. And good to be with Brandel and Paul. And you think about what Keegan said, how emotional and powerful this all is. As an 18-year-old freshman at nearby St. John's in Queens, he played Bethpage Black. Now to be the Ryder Cup captain, the youngest at 39, the youngest since Arnold Palmer in 1963. You can imagine how good this feels. So just curious, and welcome, fellas. What stood out as you listened to the two captains, Paul?
Yeah, light bit of sparring. I don't think the questions were too taxing. I think Keegan handled the questions on the money pretty well. And the rest of it was just kind of light sparring. So we didn't get a huge insight there into the views of both captains, and it was all very amicable and friendly.
I thought Keegan did a nice job of summing up the Ryder Cup, the excitement of the Ryder Cup, when he said that every hole feels like the last hole of a tournament. I thought it was a very respectful exchange. Keegan Bradley going so far as to say Luke Donald is one of the greatest captains, or maybe the greatest captain that Europe has ever had. I've heard Paul say similar things about the captaincy of Luke Donald, and similarly, Luke Donald said and talked about the friendship that he had and the admiration that he had for Keegan Bradley. I thought that obviously the toughest question, and these were anticipated, about the U.S. side getting paid, and I just say that Keegan Bradley's in a very tough spot. I doubt that he would have been in favor of it, but nonetheless, he is the captain, so he not only has to defend it, he has to spin it. And he did, I would say, a reasonable job of spinning it. Nonetheless, I don't think this is a question or a dialogue that's going to go away. It will continue to come back, and it could, I think, affect or distract the U.S. side. But I thought Keegan did a marvelous job of defending something that he would not have been in favor of.
The phrase he used was that we wanted to bring it into the modern day, the present day. So, you extrapolate that. People are getting paid. Olympians are getting paid. College athletes we know now are getting paid. Europe has chosen to go a different way. They're not taking any of the stipends. Although Keegan added that the players with the $500,000 will do a lot of good for charities. And he was asked which charity chose to keep that private. How do you see all that, Paul?
Yeah, it's kind of what we expected. He knew that question was going to come. He knows it's a very difficult place for him to be, as Brandel said. And I thought he was well prepared for it. He came out with a good, if you want to call it, a spin on it. Yeah, Europe is going in a different direction. Our view is that the secret sauce that we've always had as a team is our spirit, our representation, our pride in representing our families, our home countries, our continent, and the DP World Tour. And we don't want to break that secret sauce. We want to honour it. And I think the view of Luke, particularly the view of Luke that led the rest of the players to that decision, was that we know America going in that direction, but we're not going to follow. We want to see, if anything, more money invested in our preparation for the team. And one of the things that is really holds dear for us and really important is to try to win an away match again. As Luke said in his press conference there, not alone have we lost in 3 of our last 4 occasions on the road, we've been hammered 3 of the last 4 occasions on the road. So let's spend money on preparing better, which we have done, and let's keep going and keep that secret sauce. It's so important as a team that we have that energy as a team and that we're coming from the right place and we've pride in what we're doing. There's so much money in the game now from so many different ways. All of these players, on every player of the 24, has made so much money this year alone, never mind anything else, that the idea of pushing the boat out to make some extra money from the Ryder Cup is not something that we engaged in.
I love the fact that you call it a secret sauce. It is, to me, when you put the U.S. team up and you put the European team up, it's clear that over the course of since it became continental Europe versus the United States, that the United States has had the advantage of extravagant talent, and Europe has had the advantage of extravagant passion. It's not to say that Europe is not talented, and it's not to say that the United States is not passionate, but it's just that the United States is nowhere near as passionate as Europe. And I would say that one thing underscores this quite clearly, and it's from a player that's not even on the European team. The mere fact that Sergio Garcia, in order to be even eligible to be considered to play on the Ryder Cup team, paid in upwards of $2 million in fines just to be considered for the possibility of playing on the European team, whereas the U.S. team, and I'm not going to paint with a broad brush and say all of them, but it was clear that the U.S. team wanted, if not demanded, that they be paid for the privilege of representing their country. Now, one of them, to me, screams passion, and the other screams, well, look, we're there, we're helping y'all make money, and we should be empowered for it. All I would say is that the honor of playing for one's country, to me, is about the personal sacrifice and the profound sense of pride that comes from an athlete representing their own country, and in so doing, carrying the hopes of millions of fans while embodying the values and spirits of their country on the world stage. And to ask to be paid for it is antithetical to the privilege of representing your country. To me, it's analogous to, I do a favor for you and then afterwards ask to be paid for it. And I do think that if the USA loses, you could very well point to the fact that they sought to be paid, and it's going to be a huge distraction. And it's already percolating, and we're just on Monday, some 4 days before they even hit a shot that really matters.
Can't question the passion nor the patriotism of the United States captain in Keegan Bradley. He was a good player with a solid record, but he was not previously someone of stature. He is now. He is an important and consequential figure in the game of golf.